Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name's Wraith, and today I'm going to be going over 3 more historical tactics that you can use to win in Middle-earth strategy battle game. Now, this is coming off of the back of the success of my last video, and obviously people like seeing real life tactics that people have used in the past, or ancient times, medieval era, whatever era, ancient Rome, all that good stuff, that you can now translate to the tabletop. And it's absolutely fantastic. It's brilliant because this is the kind of video I love doing. So I'm more than happy to do another one. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So, for the first one, we've got the concentrated center. Now, this one, ignore the words on the actual page. You'll listen to my voice instead. Okay? So the concentrated center, basically, you've got a main battle line of pretty much generic troops. So, for example, we can use, say, you know what, we're going to stick with Mordor because they're quite handy. They've got good, diverse units. We've got the Moran and Orcs up front, okay? And we've got the enemy ahead of us. And say that this is, again, going off of a nice, they've deployed in a nice line for us, okay? So if you see the enemy deploying a nice line, and a lot of people do deploy in a nice line, because it does work. You want battle lines to clash. They might have some flanking going on with cavalry, things like that. So ideally you might have a couple of cavalry to either side here, just to intercept any flanking attempts. But the idea of the concentrated centre is when your main battle lines crash, okay, and these blocks they're not just one dude, they are several dudes. Okay, quite a few, so sword and board with spear support maybe. And then the centre must have a little bit of room in between the guys, so your elite troops back here. So elite, by elite I mean hard hitting, very hard hitting. So anything along the lines of any kind of Urukai maybe, anything with piercing strike, anything with +1 to wound, you can translate it however you want. Okay, if you've got models in your force that have the option to be burly and have a two-handed weapon, so let's go with Hearthguard for the Khazad Doom. They're burly and they've got +1 to wound, so it's perfect for them to get through this gap. So when the two lines clash, you want your elite troops getting in amongst this main centre attack. And you're going to want to split the enemy. So you want to be able to kill enough of their centre to split them into effectively 2 separate forces. So one over here, one over here. Once you've done that, it's your choice entirely which way your centre then goes. You can send your elite troops to the right, whilst your remaining centre goes to the left. And then you flank them. And hope as soon as one flank falls, so once you pierce through the centre and you've taken over, let's say you decide to go right with your elite troops and destroy this flank, you've only got their left flank remaining. And it's all about hard hitting, okay? Hard hitting, you need to kill as quickly as possible. That's the main thing. I wouldn't so much do this with cavalry just because the bases are a bit too big and you'd need too much of a gap, and at that point they can just slip straight through and clog up your lines and stuff like that. But if you leave enough gap, an inch between you guys, for one of these guys to slip in and start killing, perfect. Absolutely perfect. And I have used this once, and it was actually with my Khazad Doom. And it worked really, it did work well. It did work well. I managed to pierce through their centre, and then I did take out one half of their army. At that point, they only had one half left, and we had to grab objectives at that point, so I just kind of like dispersed my army whilst keeping them entertained with this flank of my army. So you interpret it however you can for the scenario. Obviously, it doesn't take into account everything that it would have back in in real life. So we try and translate it as best as we can. Anyway, enough of that. So that was the concentrated centre. We're going to move on to our next one, and I'm probably going to mess this up. Oh, no, we got this. So, basic cavalry rush, Swiss man. So, this is really simple, but I liked it, and I thought, you know what, I can make this work. So, we've got our enemy here, doesn't matter what they are. Okay, orcs, warriors, ministerials, whatever. Okay, and then we've got our army, and it could be anything. It could be Serpent Horde. It worked really quite well with Serpent Horde, in my opinion, or Muhard, or anything, as long as you have cavalry. And by cavalry, you need to have hard-hitting shock cavalry. When I say shock cavalry, I'm talking at least the lance. So they get bonuses for their crushing impact as they charge in. We don't want none of the heavy cavalry getting involved. It can still work with heavy cavalry. So like the cataphracts, so they're just really high defense, but they haven't really got any killing power apart from the double attack when you knock someone prone. But no, we want, Haradrim Raiders, cheap as chips, okay? They got +1 to wound with their lances, which are poisoned, rerolling ones to wound. And we're protecting them. We're going to be screening them with our troops here as we move forward to engage the enemy, but leaving gaps here for horsemen to shoot out. So whilst you're marching up, they're hidden behind a couple of guys for in the waves if they're firing back at you. But if they're happy to meet you in the middle, perfect, or you can walk towards them. As soon as you get within close enough, if they keep backing up, that's fine, because then they're just giving you the board, and you've got board control, and that's what you want anyway. And then once they hit the back, where are they going to go? They can waste time, sure, but if you're playing something like Serpent Horde, you can guarantee, you can still stick a few bows in here. Even your cavalry, if you give them bows with the lances, if you can take both as an option, you can keep firing at them whilst they're backing up. Or even these guys up front can keep firing at them whilst they're backing up. There's quite a lot of options. Anyway, when you get close enough, that's when, through these little gaps that you've left, lovely for your cavalry, you can fire them out to crash straight into their lines, and then these guys are going to follow up as quickly as they can. Okay, even if you have to use things like heroic moves across the board, or heroic marches to just close the gap quicker, do it, because it's all about pushing pressure onto the enemy. As soon as you put pressure onto them, they've got two options. They can either meet and engage you, which probably won't work out too well for them, hopefully, or they can back up, and that's not going to work either, because you want them to engage you so you can get the cavalry charges, but at the same time you want them to back up as well, because then you've got board control. And yep, once you get within 10 inches with your cavalry, boom, you fly straight into them, crash into their lines, and yeah, you're going to do some serious damage. Doesn't mean you're going to necessarily win the game, but you're going to do some damage. And then the rest of your line will crash into combat, and you can try and mop up what's left. After the initial charge, do not leave your cavalry in there, back them out, and then you can go for flanking or anything like that. As long as you keep these guys as close as you can with your cavalry, you're going to be alright. Okay? So yeah, you keep them engaged. Once you've done the initial charge, then you try and engage them with your infantry, keep them in the spot, and then your cavalry will back out and try and come round for a cheeky little pincer manoeuvre. Boom! That's the Swiss man. Basic Cavalry Rush. Easy peasy. Next one. I'm not going to be able to say this correctly, just to warn you. Okay, if you can see that. Why is it? Oh my god. Sorry about that. Why is that so small? So, can I resize? Oh, sort of. No. Right. We have got... I'm not even going to attempt to try and say it. Basically, it was a Viking tactic. It's like... Yeah, I'm not going to offend anyone by trying to pronounce it. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to trigger people. And I'm triggering myself right now because I did remember it, but I've forgotten it. Okay, the idea behind this is it's similar to a wedge formation. Okay, it's good for... Don't count these as every single man you want. You don't want, 600 models on the table. That's not going to happen. You want a basic arrowhead or wedge formation, pig's head, whatever you want to call it, followed up with 2 flanking blocks. So you can even have 2 rank thick blocks, so sword and board, spear supports, but you want your heavy infantry in this part, you're killing, and you want some kind of killing hero at the tip here, and this is really good for piercing straight into the enemy. Now the downside to the pig's head is if you do go for the full frontal assault, you're going to try and break the shield wall, you can then get enveloped. This makes it a hell of a lot harder to get flanked because you've got some protection. Again, you're going to need not so much of it. It depends how many points you're playing. You don't want too much of an elite army because it's probably going to be quite expensive to run this formation. But if you've got something really cheap, so for example, it's hard not to say Serpent Horde again because they're really cheap and they've got some killing power in them. Let's go with, hey, you know, Mordor. Mordor's pretty cheap. Even Moran and Orcs are perfect for this. You don't need many. Yeah, you need bog standard Orcs just to be the flank protectors. Moran and Orcs towards the tip, so for your pig's head or arrow's head formation here, and then right at the tip you want something really hard hitting, so maybe Blackguard because they're quite expensive, along with a really killy hero. So I mean, Mordor, you got your pick. There's loads of killy heroes you can have there. You can even be really cheeky and chuck a Mordor Troll Chieftain right at the tip of the spear point there, and he can either go for the heroic moves to pull you in. You can have a support character behind him, just here, for the heroic moves, so he can waste his might on heroic moves, and this guy can save it for strikes and things like that. Or you've got heroic combats, so once you get in, you can get as many guys in as you want, and you can heroic combat him through and start killing things, and maximise the amount of damage you do. You want a really killy tip of your pig's head, and you want a main body just to follow them up and keep pushing and pressuring the enemy. And you do want sword and board with spear supports just to throw out as many attacks as you can. Like even the Muhard could do this. So the Farharad. So you've got the very tip will be your half trolls with maybe a Muhard king, and you can still stick them on a camel if you want. Backed up by spearmen. So you could do the Muhard warriors with their blowpipes and spears as spear supports because they're then chucking 3 attacks out. Fight 5 for the half troll, strength 5 for the 2 attacks the half troll gets, strength 4 for the spear guy at the back, and then you can still shoot blowpipes over the shoulders if need be. Along with the flanks, anything works for the flanks. They're literally there to protect it, so you can use Muhard warriors, or you can even go for something a bit more expensive and have Muhard raiders just ready to protect your flanks, or come in to crash and flank the enemy. Perfect. Next one. Okay, this is like a bonus one. I know it looks silly, it's just a crescent moon. I didn't want to try and dig through loads of files and try and find a good picture, because this gets the point. Okay, as much as I'd love to say Hannibal's tactic at the Battle of Cannae would work in Middle-earth strategy back game, it probably wouldn't. And the only reason I say it probably wouldn't is because it would take a lot of time and a lot of turns to pull it off. Okay, you've only got 6 inches and you've got to go from pretty much a straight line to be backing off, and your enemy not to notice your flanks are trying to envelop them. Because the whole point, the reason the Battle of Cannae works so well is because once your enemy starts giving ground, you get excited. You think you're winning the battle, so you're going to push and push and push and push because your enemy's giving ground. That's the whole point. That means you're winning. Little do they know that was the whole point. They wanted to give ground so that the Romans would actually find themselves encircled. He had some cavalry as well that came, saw off the Roman cavalry and came back and hit them right in the back. So they were completely encircled and got chopped into bits. Not very good. Amazing victory for Hannibal, not so good for the Romans. But hey ho, this is completely different. Right, with this, we're going to go for some skirmishy stuff. So, the whole point of this is if you've got an enemy, I can't draw a line with this, can I? Nope. Okay. You've got an enemy in front of you, right? And we're going to need cavalry. Ideally cavalry that have bows. So this is a very nice Rohan formation you can do. So it's a crescent formation. And the more horses you've got with bows, the better. And the only reason I say Rohan is better is because they don't have a bow limit for their horses. You can still use this for Rivendell, you can use it for Serpent Horde again, anything like that. Anything that has shooting on cavalry, because you have to be quick. And the whole point is you're meant to offer out your cavalry to be an annoyance for your enemy. So your enemy's here, and they're going to be firing in onto the enemy. And the enemy's got a couple of choices. They can keep coming forward, in which case you can keep shooting them and you'll outpace them. Your centre does not have to be cavalry, it can be solid infantry if you want it to, but the whole point is to annoy them. But if you've got something here, so if they want to try and get rid of your cavalry, you can try and bait them to break up their lines, so that once their lines are broken up, trying to catch your crescent tips here, they've isolated themselves into little pockets. So, you know, this flank of the army has gone for this crescent point, and they start to come this way. This one's gone for this crescent point, and then you've got the centre of the army here, which means your predominantly cavalry army can then deal with them in separate battles pretty much. So you can send a bunch of guys to engage these and start encircling them. You can send guys from the centre round to encircle them, and you can keep a threat going on here. So they have to still deal with the majority of your army, but you've encircled a portion of their army and you can get rid of them. And you just rinse and repeat. It's all about disrupting the enemy line with this one. So you want to annoy them enough to make them want to kill your cavalry, to come out of their line and their formation, try and chase them down. The only downside to this, and the only reason this one's a bonus one, is because it's a lot harder to pull off. A hell of a lot harder to pull off, but it can work. If your enemy is using a lot of cavalry themselves, it's not going to be so effective. Or it could be very effective, because they think, I've got cavalry too, so I'm going to chase you down. Anyway, they were my extra, well, 4, because there was a bonus one, historical tactics that you can use in Middle-earth strategy battle game. Again, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And let me know if you can think of any other historical tactics that you have used or have seen other people use or think might work in Middle-earth strategy battle game, because I'd love to hear what you think, and if I like it enough I might even talk about it in my next video, because I'm going to keep looking at tactics. I just wanted to get another video out because of the response to the last video, and these are the tactics that just missed the cut for the first video. So anyway, on that note, I hope you enjoyed it. I thank you ever so much for watching and listening, and if you liked it, do leave a like or even a cheeky little subscription, but if not, never mind, because I still hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.